So something everybody asks me is, what's the one thing I can do to be more secure? Well, there's a lot more than one thing. So it's really hard to answer that question. There is no one thing. If there was one thing, then it wouldn't be considered defense in depth. If there's one thing, then it would be easy and everybody would do it. There is no one thing. If we want to rank solutions in order, at the top would be MFA, multifactor authentication. Every company, every person at every company accessing email, accessing VPN, which gives you access to the network, and accessing any cloud apps should be using MFA to access all of those things. Well, a lot of you have MFA on some cloud apps and maybe email, but not on VPN. And it's important to put it on VPN because someone who steals your credentials, phishes them, buys them off a breach site, whatever, is able to log in as you into your network and have the same access as everybody else. And if you're like most companies, you have a pretty flat, wide open network because you haven't implemented any kind of zero trust network access control around your network. So username and password's all it takes to have God mode on your network. So as a result, the hacker can easily get in and navigate around. So MFA is important regardless of what you are protecting, of what your company does, how many employees you have. Everyone, not just administrators, everyone should have MFA on everything. I'm saying network access, cloud access, and email access. Now, why do I say everything? And why do I say everyone? What about the administrative assistant just VPNing in from home? Well, the thing is, on the network, a lot of times the network doesn't know people, especially if you haven't implemented something like a zero trust network access solution or a NAC, a network access control solution. Anyone who connects to VPN really has the same privileges usually. And if an administrative assistant VPNs in, they can still navigate around most of the network. And to authenticate against the servers, they may need the same creds, but most threat actors can do pass the hash, some other privilege escalation, and get access to what they need to on the servers once they're inside the network. So what we're trying to do here is make it a little bit more difficult for the attacker to get in and get around. So, okay, you have MFA in place. What's the next thing? What's the next thing you have to do to improve security for your company? Well, there are a lot of names for it now. Endpoint detection and response is a common one. MDR, managed SOC. I prefer MDR because it means something that really the other two are combining to me. So you need to have endpoint detection and response on every machine, but you have to have somebody managing it, because buying a piece of software is not good enough. Buying a piece of software doesn't mean anything. You can be getting attacked all day long, and if you have nobody watching it, that software is just, it's alerting nobody. So it's important to have a MDR solution. So not only SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, Cybereason, Silence, what have you, not only one of those solutions, but a team to manage it. And that's where an MSSP comes in, or a managed SOC provider, or an MDR company. And that's managed detection and response. And that is something you need. Network detection and response, if you're breaking these up into pieces, if I'm thinking about MDR, a lot of times that is comprised of EDR, which is endpoint detection and response, and NDR, which is network detection and response. Put those together and put a person behind the screen looking at it, that's MDR, managed detection and response. And that's what you want to protect your company. And the next thing, And this is really of equal importance. So the MDR is prevention. Now you need to recover and be resilient, because some attack is going to get through, regardless of what you do. So you need good backups. Now, what are good backups? There are a ton of great backup vendors out there, but a lot of it is how you architect the solution. It needs to be architected in a way that it's air-gapped and immutable. Immutable means you can't change it or delete it once it's written. Why is that important? Nowadays, the hacker, is going in and deleting or encrypting your backups. So when they're encrypting your backups, you have nothing to recover from. So you may have a lot of money invested in DR equipment, failover stuff, great backup software, great storage, but it's all encrypted. So you can't use any of it. And that'll make you mad when it comes time to recover and there's nothing there. So an immutable backup solution. Arium, the company I work for, has one called air-gapped, which is great. Rubrik has their data protection, which is awesome. So I would use one of those solutions. When you're thinking about immutability and you just Google in the search, you're just looking for immutable backups, you'll find 100 vendors. Most of them are not actually immutable. Veeam, for instance, I love Veeam. I'm a Veeam certified engineer. You actually have to go out of the way to put Veeam to back up to immutable storage in order to make it immutable. It's not immutable by default. Same thing with Commvault, same thing with Backup Exec, same thing with Zerto, same thing with Acronis. Acronis has done a great job marketing themselves, but you actually have to configure it to be immutable. It's not immutable out of the box. So if you're not going out of the way to architect your solution correctly, then it can be a problem. And this whole thing is really frustrating because there's a lot of MSPs that really don't know the difference. They're being sold by Acronis, they're being sold by these companies that they're an immutable backup solution. So they go and just deploy the backup solution and walk away, thinking that everything's good. There's actual configuration and thought that has to happen in order to make it truly immutable. Veeam is a great solution. I love Veeam. But there's a lot of architecture that needs to get put in place in order to have a truly flexible, resilient solution that is secure and immutable. I personally prefer air-gapped cloud backup, immutable solutions. So a backup that's backing up to the cloud, to immutable storage, so that this storage is not in your data center. But there are solutions that are in your data center, like Datto has a backup solution where there's an appliance that lives in your data center. They also back up a copy to the cloud, but it's in your data center primarily. And that is really where we are. My doubt is recoverability when there's things in the data center. So you have backup appliances in the data center, and the attacker attacks them. And although nobody has successfully attacked the Datto backup appliance yet, it'll come someday. I'd rather just not have the data in the data center. Now, luckily, Datto does have that cloud copy. But there are a lot of people that think that because they have a SAN, a storage area network, which is a SAN with SAN snapshots, that they're safe because that SAN snapshot is their backup. That's not a backup, number one. That's never been called a backup. It's called a snapshot. And it's a storage layer snapshot. Number two is that's not protected from attackers. Attackers can use Emotet, Quackbot, any number of malware to get your creds, get into your SAN, and delete your snapshots or turn off your snapshotting. So just having a SAN with snapshotting is not is not your solution. So some people that have been attacked have been lucky because the attacker didn't see or wasn't able to capture those creds. But you know, I have seen it several times where the SAN is completely encrypted and where the SAN has no snapshots, and where it was replicating to a DR site, the attacker turned off that replication and turned off snapshotting, and there's no snapshots, no backups of it to recover from. So the important things, again, are MFA, multi-factor authentication, MDR, which is Managed Detection and Response, and I'm sorry for all these acronyms. The industry is just full of these, and they're inventing new ones every day. And immutable backups, and preferably immutable air-gapped cloud backups. So good backup to keep a copy of your systems and data off-site so that you can restore anytime. Thanks.